Hi, this is Rabbi Young. Thanks for tuning in to our weekly video email. Recently, Natalie was asking me about some information to help her with a class that she's teaching on Torah, and she said, "Don't you have this thing about fact and truth, and can you send that to me in writing?" And I said, "No, I can't send it to you in writing, but I'll tell you all about it." Well, if you haven't heard me teach about this, I was actually inspired by the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where Dr. Henry Jones writes the word fact on the board of his classroom. And he says, archaeology is the search for fact. If it's truth you're looking for, Dr. So-and-so's philosophy class is down the hall. And after seeing that movie and thinking about it for years, I realized that he's right. And the same can be said for Torah and history. The Torah is truth, and history should be fact. Of course, we all interpret history and things get a little muddled, but the point is that the Torah is not a history. It's a high story, and it's based on truth. And it's this confusion between truth and fact and what exactly the Torah or the Bible represent that get us into some confusing situations. And this week's Torah portion, we get one of those oft-quoted verses that is used to prove the Bible thumpers wrong, so to speak. And the verse is from Exodus chapter 21, verses 7 and 8. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not be freed as male slaves are. If she proves to be displeasing to her master, who designated her for himself, he must let her be redeemed. He shall not have the right to sell her to outsiders, since he broke faith with her. Now, this shows what female slaves were being sold for, but that a person would sell their own daughter into slavery is completely unfathomable for those of us who live in 2019. And even though there probably was some sort of selling children into slavery, just to settle debts, I'm sure, this is not a verse that we want to base our understanding of Torah on. And if we think about the West Wing, when President Bartlett was dressing down a character who was based on Dr. Judy or whatever her name is, but he was dressing down a radio personality for saying that the Bible says that homosexuality is a sin, which it does. But he says, he decides to ask her what he can get for his daughter if he decides to sell her into slavery, since she's such a Bible expert. And of course he gives other examples. But this is the whole point that I'm trying to make with the difference between truth and fact, is that if you read the Bible as fact, you will be confused. If you read the Bible as truth, you may be confused because it is a confusing text, and you will certainly have difficulties with it, and you will certainly struggle with it. But struggling with the text is what really makes Torah study worthwhile. That idea that it's puzzling and exciting and strange and not what we would normally think about. And so this week's Parashah, Mishpatim, that starts with rules about how to deal with slaves, which we just don't have to deal with anymore, does allow us to think about the idea of how to treat other humans, even if we would want them to be our indentured servants or slaves, or however you want to call it, or whether they're a part of our family or strangers or business partners who owe us something and then have to get sold. Whatever the issue, they were trying to make rules to make the world more just for everyone, whether they are the person being enslaved, whether they're the slave owner, whether they're someone who owes someone a debt or who has to collect the debt. The whole point was to make the world a better, more fair, safer place for all. And I hope that we can see that as our greater goal without having to parse through the little details that give us problems. So have a great week. Hope you're going to join us for Torah study at some point, whether it's on Saturday morning or Tuesday evening. And remember Family Shabbat this weekend with our 6th and 7th grade class leading the charge. They're a very big class, so I'm sure they're going to have a lot of great ideas and music to share with us this weekend. So see you soon. Have a great week.